Mitra, let's open up this topic of masculine and feminine principle within us. We hear it a lot. I've been hearing it more lately about finding this balance within ourselves between the masculine and the feminine. But before we get into that, let's clarify what we mean by this. So, what does masculine and feminine mean to you in the context of our inner experience?
Masculine and feminine are the energies, they're their main energies, principal energies. So, not emotions that are energies in motion. These are energies that are within us. And we all have, in my view, both energies. So, just because you have a man's body and I have a woman's body doesn't mean that we lack the other kind of energy. But these are energies that are the determining factor of how and if we move through any given moment. And I'm saying any given moment because it can change from moment to moment. I may come here in a friendly and safe place and completely drop into my feminine comfortably. And then a minute later, I may go to an institution that I feel like I need to be far more on top of my game and careful. Then I immediately shift into my masculine, protective kind of energy.
Let's clarify what the masculine looks like versus the feminine. So when you say masculine energies, what is that? What are the qualities of that?
So I'm very visual. So the way I see masculine and feminine and experience them, I want a home. I desire to have a home. The feminine designs is the architect of that home and the decorator of the home. And the masculine in me is the builder of the home. Without the design and the idea, the home will not be stable. Without the builder, I will have no home. So, feminine is the idea, is the less visible aspect of me, and masculine is more practical, implementer aspect of me. That's how I relate to my own masculine, feminine in a sort of an everyday basis. So when I think about balance, I think about like how much of that I had and how much of this I had this moment or this day or for this particular relationship or experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that analogy. And for me, how that looks like the masculine energy for me is the one who's planning. The masculine
Mm-hmm.
energy for me who is the one who loves using the mind and my intellect
Mm-hmm.
and problem solving. Um, it likes to take lead on
Mm-hmm.
things. It wants to know. The
Yes.
masculine in me wants to know. It wants to figure out. And the feminine, though, is um, is more fluid. The
Mm-hmm.
feminine actually doesn't want to know, enjoys the unknown. The feminine is more creative in me. It's
Uh-huh.
this free flowing creative nature in me. And in fact, actually, to know interferes with that creativity. To use my mind interferes with that creativity.
Which one is
And
present now?
I would say definitely my masculine is present now. We were talking before we started. I feel quite imbalanced right now. Actually, the strong a strong masculine presence in me, which I experience, is resistance, wanting to
Mm.
control. I happen to be going through something that I'm experiencing just a lot of resistance towards. There's a fear. There's a wanting to control the outcome. There's a wanting to be safe. There's a wanting for things to be a certain way, right?
Mhm,
There's a
mhm,
rigidity to it
mhm,
that is standing in the way of me allowing
mhm.
myself to feel fluidly, freely.
I really want to ask, how are you, as you're listening to us, how are you feeling your energies? Are you in your masculine? or more feminine, and there's no right answer. It's not like you should be or shouldn't be, but it would be just really, really helpful to notice in which energy and whatever your interpretation of your masculine and feminine energy is fine. It doesn't need to be what we say or what they say. And I'm really interested as you're listening with what energy, more dominant energy, you're listening to us. Are you analytical? Are you in your mind? Are you more in your feelings, in your heart? Which one is more present for you? And I was telling you, Ben, the moment you suggested this subject and it was in my awareness, that automatically, without anything, brought a sense of balance. So I always say A brings B, awareness brings balance,
Yeah.
invites balance. And
Yep.
I was more aware of, oh, okay, I think I'm just gone too far with my feminine or my masculine, and it just brought that. But I'm really interested to learn more about when you say that you are imbalanced, how does that feel for you, and what are the potential, for lack of a better word, remedies that you adapt to your life?
When I feel imbalance usually I know is when I'm feeling tension,
Mhm,
when there is stress, when there is tension. There was a time when that was the baseline for me. So I didn't even know I was imbalanced. But now, because I've become more aware of the two energies within me and how
mhm,
I fluctuate between them, I'm aware when that tension is there, when there isn't a sense of peace and relaxation in me. What do I do when I'm feeling imbalanced? Well, it depends in which way I am. So usually when I'm in balance, I'm more in my masculine. That's been my predominant tendency in my life, to want to control outcomes and predict the future and solve problems. I feel the energy in my head, and I feel this tension in my chest. So I know that okay, there's an imbalance right now, and usually the imbalance is because I'm resisting something within me. I'm experiencing something. I might either be stubbornly holding on to a position if I'm dealing with a problem with another person.
mhm,
I'm stubbornly holding on to my view and resisting wanting to open to their point of view
mhm,
and wanting to prove mine. Or um, within me, I'm just experiencing emotions that I'm resisting feeling. And so, what I do often is I slow down. There is a desire, a tendency to want to, for example, get work done when I'm in my this kind of um, this imbalance, to
mhm,
want to keep like distracting myself with mind-based things. My mind is my escape. It's an easy escape for me.
mhm,
Oh, let me go to the markets. Let me do some of the you know analysis that I love doing. Um, so pausing though, so being catching myself and pausing and taking a longer walk with my dog Marley, being in nature, that helps a lot. Taking more pauses throughout the day. So, like some of the micro things that I do is if I notice that I'm feeling tense and stressed, practicing taking mini pauses.
mhm,
So, you know, I might get an hour worth of work done, take at least a 5 minute break. Take a 5 minute break, walk around, take a quick walk outside, and come back in, moving. Really feeling my body is another thing. One thing that has helped me significantly in my journey of reconnecting with the feminine principle is actually developing a vocabulary for emotions. I didn't
mm,
really have it before. I didn't
mhm,
understand my emotions. I didn't understand what I was feeling. I just felt unease and I didn't like it and I didn't understand it, so I wouldn't even bother going there.
mhm,
But when I began to develop a vocabulary for the emotions of, whether it be sadness, anger,
mhm,
guilt, shame, jealousy, whatever. it was really helpful for me to just acknowledge that and be like, okay, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling anger, and immediately that naming helps ease things a little bit and helps me reconnect with myself. Yeah, so
Mm.
those are some of the things that I do, and I'm curious for you. But what are things you do when you notice that when you're too much in your masculine? How do you reconnect with your feminine principle?
I just wanted, before to answer your question, I wanted to mention something. It was coming to me as I was listening to you, that as there is masculine and feminine energies, there are unhealthy masculine and feminine energies. And
Yeah.
that's a very important point. So when I say, or you say, I'm too much in this, that means that it's become unhealthy. So, for instance, thinking and planning is amazing. Without that, we can't get things done. But when we overthink and overplan, it becomes control. And that's an unhealthy masculine energy and trait that many of us experience. So, my life called me, even though I have a feminine body, earlier on in life to really step into my masculine, get
Mm-hmm.
things done. I'm the one that our family members come to me and get things done. And it's very interesting that earlier on in life I lost my father, and my brother, who was like really is not was is really my closest friend,
Mm.
left to come to US actually. So the two masculine energies in my life, masculine characters in my life, left me earlier on. So I became the father of the family. It was, even though I was a girl and I was the youngest in the family.
Mm.
So even till today, I have that role, even though, you would think, organically speaking, I did not want that role because of the way I came to this world. So to answer your question of what do I do, my awareness is my key. Whenever things are too difficult, when I'm efforting too much, or when I am suffering too much. So internally is suffering and externally is efforting. I know that I'm out of my balance. Efforting usually indicates to me that I am too much in my masculine energy, which means I'm connecting to my unhealthy aspect of masculine energy, and suffering, especially victimhood. The poor me is the unhealthy feminine energy that sometimes acts up for me. And I become aware of those things. And I think that awareness is that immediately balances, and brings a sense of balance to me. However, when that doesn't happen, and sometimes it doesn't, I do things. So I have two P's for each section. I plan and structure more and take action more when I'm in my feminine unhealthy. And I pause and contemplate more when I'm in my masculine unhealthy.
Mm.
And these two bring a sense of balance for me. Having said that, I want to really repeat this, because this is where, when I was teaching a class on this, that's where most people got stuck. The politics and the legality of our gender is very different than the energies we're speaking about. This has nothing to do with any external things. This is an inner balance, energetic balance, and every single person holds both masculine or feminine and feminine energy. And when we don't hold them in balance, and again, by balance, I don't mean 50-50, I mean as needed. So I'm aware, like, there are days that mainly I need to be in my feminine energy. Like, I tell you something very practical. My 90 something year old mother fell a few weeks ago and had hip problems. Okay. I immediately went into my masculine energy, called, arranged things, ordered things, called this doctor, text that doctor, just did everything I need to do. So that is my masculine energy. By the time I took her to the hospital, and I intentionally didn't call 911 because then it becomes completely out of the control of the family, then it has to be hospital that needs to determine. I was in my masculine energy. Once they were done and we were back at home caring for my mom, then I fell into my feminine energy, the caring, kind, because she was in pain. And, she has her way of living. It's very difficult to convince her that she can't do this and she shouldn't do that. So that was the masculine, feminine within a day. So masculine organized everything. Feminine started to care for her when we were back at home and care was needed. That day I was balanced, but it doesn't mean I was actually 60, probably 70% masculine that day, because a lot needed to take place and get done. And I was working with institutions. And then at home, it was like need for care and feminine energy, which was about probably 30-40% only. But that day was a very balanced day for me.
Yeah, so it's dynamic. What I hear you saying, it's
Absolutely.
fluctuating, and it's really, the way I experience it, it's really about connecting, being connected with ourselves, being in our own center. When I'm in my center, there is no thought about it, right? It just naturally expresses itself.
Mhm.
I'll naturally, spend some time on the computer, getting some work done, looking at the markets, analyzing, and then I just feel like I want to break and I pick up my guitar and I start jamming on my guitar, you know? Or
What a great contrast.
yeah. And that expression is organic to me. It comes organic to me. Um, but there was a time in my life where the idea of doing those things were just totally foreign to me, because I was in my, as you named it, my unhealthy masculine, but I wasn't even aware of unhealthy masculine, what that is. And there was actually a period in my life where I was in my unhealthy feminine. But let's clarify for the listener, let's be really clear about what is meant. What do we mean when we say we're in the unhealthy masculine versus in the unhealthy feminine? We've already painted a little bit of a picture of what the unhealthy masculine is, but let's really make that clear. How do you define the unhealthy masculine versus the
Unhealthy
unhealthy feminine?
masculine is when we believe that unnecessarily we need to push too much, we need to think too much, we need to plan too much. So, the oversell kind of idea that you had me at like point C and then you took it to point E and you lost me. It's like overselling the good implementation plan, where after that it's not serving anyone. I've You thought about it, you did it. Okay, is there a break? I always ask, is there a break to this thinking and planning? At what stage I'm going to stop? Or is it going to take over my life? When I'm sleeping, I'm doing it. When I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about it. When I'm supposed to be present somewhere else, I'm really planning and implementing and thinking about pros and cons. When people say, I couldn't stop thinking about whatever, that's the unhealthy masculine. And we know it. We naturally, I'm saying these things, and really, there is no need for any training in this area. We know when things are not right. But
Yeah.
the question is, do we want to? Do we choose to turn around and go to balance? So when balance, and that's one of the tools that I use no matter where I am in my imbalance and in my unhealthy energy. When we choose a balanced place as our anchor, just like meditation, we choose that, we remember how it felt. I know, like right now, I'm in a very balanced state in this moment. I wasn't about an hour ago, but I am right now. There is a sense of contentment, not even peace, contentment. All is well in this moment. It really is. Do I have a lot to do? Yes. Is there difficulty in my life? Yes. Are people needing me more than I can handle. Absolutely. However, there is a contentment which comes, and you named it very well, Ben, from connection. I am connected to myself. When I am connected, and people may ask, if you're asking, what the heck do you mean? What does the connection mean? Because it's a phrase that doesn't have a visual. Connection with self means, and let's just make it, since we are physical beings, it means that I know what's happening in my body first and foremost. Let's just start there. It's not the only way, but it's the most obvious way for us as human beings with physicality. I'm aware I can just feel, oh, there is tension right now in my shoulders. In a natural, content, balanced state, I don't need to have that tension. And if it's there, something is out of whack. And that could be energies. It could be just I'm trying too hard. And let me disclose a secret between us, Ben, that in our redesigning, this is our second season as we're recording, we tried to do that in our own work and in our own podcast. Ben, because he is more in his masculine, I'm telling on you, wants to plan, wants to determine, and we even went as far as having all the headings and we should cover these subjects. And I am more in my feminine, and I'm saying, okay, I agree. Let's do a gentle planning, but let's be fluid. Let's see what comes out of our conversation. And we did both. Too much femininity didn't bring structure and theme, and too much structure didn't work for us. And now we're actually finding our balance of masculine energy within our podcast, because that those energies need to be balanced within me. And then there is in our relationships, be it work, be it at home. So in our love and romantic relationships, is there enough masculine and feminine in each of us and between us as we exchange, our energies and interact with each other. So there's also that in workplaces. I can walk literally. When my corporate clients hire me, they say, where do you want to start? I say, I just allow me to walk through your office. And they
Yeah.
say, and do what? And I say, nothing. Let me just pick up on energies, because I do. Everybody does. And you just need to be aware of it. I walk through halls, and sometimes makes people uncomfortable. And I pick up, ooh, there is such a tension. Like my body sort of like bends, and they're like, times that I walk and I think, not enough action here. There's just like too many ideas floating around, too much talking, too much planning, too much like idealistic way of dealing with this. And I feel like we need plans, we need, implementations, we need structure, we
Yeah.
need order for these. And it's the same thing within any place and any relationship and any interactions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you brought up the whole, coming into the second season. Yeah. I approached it from a more masculine perspective, giving more structure, planning more. And I think the key is just that feedback. It wasn't working for us. It didn't feel right for me, and it definitely didn't feel right for you. And pivoting based off of that feedback, being aware and doing what feels right, what works. Going back, you had mentioned some of the qualities about the unhealthy masculine when there's too much planning, too much rigidity. I think there's a lot of people who might not be fully aware of it or might not have a problem with it. What would you say to the person who says, okay, yeah, I am a planner. I am far more in my masculine. I like to keep control of things. What's the problem with that?
I always ask, how you doing? Does it work for you? Because that's the main question. And if they say, yeah, I'm okay, I leave them alone. That means they're not even ready to look at their balance. And that's not my business. But really the question for every person to ask themselves is this serving me? Is this
Mm,
the way that I would like to sustain my lifestyle? As I said, there are times that, like, we were stranded in Europe and we couldn't find a ticket. And I just went into my masculine and within half an hour resolved our issues. But can I live like that? Oh my God, no, I wouldn't be alive if I lived like that. So maybe occasions call for masculine or feminine extreme expression, but in a sustainable way, in a healthy way, it doesn't serve us. And then I ask the same person and I say, how do you sleep? Oh, I don't sleep. I don't need to sleep. Okay. What about eating? Whatever. I just need to get this done. We're in the middle of project. Okay. So how about your relationships? How do you connect to your loved ones, to your family member, with your lover and your neighbor? It's just like, yeah, they're a bunch of idiots. Okay. So, these are signs that and literally what I'm saying is what I have heard. And I'm thinking, okay, the world can't be all idiots and they can't be all difficult. Like maybe I need to look at some imbalances. And it's not
Yeah.
about fault, it's not
Yeah.
about guilt, it's not about it's about responsibility, really understanding that I am responsible. And if I'm experiencing certain patterns of behavior and interactions and relationships over and over again, and I'm the only constant in all these relationships and occasions, then maybe I need to look at my imbalances and my unhealthy energies. So that's what I would tell them. But having said that, I want to emphasize if people are not ready to bring balance to their life, it is not my business, even though they've hired me to do that, to make them do that. My
Yeah.
job is I'm a pointer. I
Yeah.
point to, and a truth teller, basically, things that they cover up. My job is to uncover. But can I make a decision for them? No. So I would say that to that person. But to a person that says, okay, I'm aware, I'm going to tell them, please start very, very small. Pick the smallest occasions or most consequential relationships and start there. If every time I go to a restaurant or to a bank and I get into trouble with someone, I'll start there instead of starting with my partner in life.
I love what you said about taking inventory of how is life? How is life working out for me? Professionally, how is life? Am I happy with it? Are my relationships professionally good? Is my performance at work? Am I getting the results that I want? How are my relationships with family members? How is my intimate relationship? And that really shines a lot of light because if
Yeah,
I'm not happy with those things, then there's some sort of imbalance. And then the question becomes, okay, do I want to keep it this way or do I want to experience more joy in all of these areas in my life? And usually I want to experience more joy. So I'm inspired then to see, okay, where am I in balance? What's happening?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple question. What am I sensing and what am I feeling? So the sensations of the body and the feelings of your heart. And those will tell you, because whatever you're feeling, there will be a translation of it in your physical body. And vice versa, whatever your body is doing when it's out of whack, there will be a translation of it as far as feelings are concerned. So, whichever you're more connected to is the way I'm leading my life and energies serving me. And it's really a simple question. And if not, then we can't just blame it on life because that's what we do. It's life. It is, but I also have a choice within life, and I can show up very differently, even at difficult times. Even, I mean, you and I live in Los Angeles and went through a really difficult time with the fires, and, ice in the city, and people are feeling a sense of fear. So there was an actual thing happening and now actual feelings that are difficult. People are suspicious of each other. I mean, we were in line to go to an event and I realized usually people start speaking to each other and just about everybody, at least around us, were very hesitant to share specifics. It was like, good, yes, no. It was very, very protected
Hmm.
conversation.
Hmm.
So I'm aware of those things, but I'm also aware that within my world, I have choices. I can do one kind thing. I can say one kind, word, and that completely shifts my energy, and it sends out an invitation, if the person is ready, to their balanced energy.
Mm.
And that's something very small I can do, and that then watch and see, did that serve me when I connected to my balanced energy, when I connected to, say, my kindness, or I connected to my firmness. And this combo is a very difficult combo: kind and firm. Firm comes from our healthy masculine, and kind comes from our healthy feminine. And I usually say in communication, those are my words I choose to teach on. Can I be firm and kind? That's a balance, by the way. That they're right there. Like, let's say you want to invite me somewhere and I don't want to come, and you're really insisting. So, what will happen to me? Very simple example, very practical. I either let go of the what served me, and I'm really tired and I really can't come and I really don't want to come. I either surrender and say, okay, okay, Ben, let's go, which is not serving me, or I become harsh and I start shouting, don't you understand? I told you no, why can't you do? And I go to never and ever, and you always do this, and I never get a chance. But when I bring these two words together, kind and firm, and you say, no, Mitra, I really want you to come, and say, I really appreciate that, but I really won't come. And I stay firm with that answer. And then immediately I go to my balance. I served myself, and I also introduced something, if you weren't in your balance, that's like, as soft as I may be, I have a choice, and I'm really benefiting from my choices in life. I do what serves me.
Let's say for the person who's chronically used to habitually in their masculine, and I know right now we're really focused on the masculine, and I do want to address in this conversation, we will get to the for the people who are more predominantly their feminine principle is overweighted and they're too much in their feminine principle. But for right now, we're talking about unhealthy masculine, and we happen to be in a society, by the way, which is predominantly masculine driven. The value of the mind, is very high. It's a patriarchal society. It's all about doing, getting. So for the people who, let's say, there's the man who is very much in his masculine, too much in his masculine, let's say it's imbalance, who's in provider mode, who is um, constantly working, constantly in the mind. And then there's also the women who might be listening, who are aware that their habit is to be more in their masculine than in their feminine. For these people, it might be a little bit challenging in the moment
Mhm.
to fluctuate between the two because they're so used to being one way. What do you recommend for those people when you've worked with your clients in the past? How do you introduce them to reconnecting with their feminine side?
I think this is really important to understand that what is unhealthy for me may not be unhealthy for them. That's one. Two, that we talk about normal as if normal means healthy. Normal is what the norm is, what I normally do. So distinguishing between normal and healthy, because it seems to be the defense mechanism both for institutions and people. When I ask, how do you do this and why do you do this? They say, oh, we've always done that. I said, okay, but that was the time perspective. Tell me, how is that serving you and why do you do that? So really questioning, I think that's the first thing I want to say. Questioning, and just a simple question, don't make it too challenging and too difficult. I question myself, is there a better way?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Is there a better way? Better way of what? Better way of doing this podcast? And better way usually means, by better, I don't mean like a more popular podcast. I mean, better that it feels more natural to me. We know what that feeling is. We may be pushing it aside, but we know when things are, and I use this word quite often, effortless. This podcast is effortless for me. It doesn't mean that I don't care for it. It doesn't mean that we don't spend a lot of time on it. It just means I don't I don't need to like put pressure on myself to do this. And the moment it comes out of that sense, I know either the podcast itself is on crisis and I need to pay attention to it, like my mother falling down, or I am in my imbalance. So ask yourself, is there a better way of doing this? And don't go with the history of I am. When people talk about themselves, they speak as if they are a thing. They say that's a wrong actually vocabulary. When I say I am, and the worst word is after that, always like this. Like you're just going against your humanhood. First of all, you are not one way. Secondly, always doesn't exist because any given moment there's a chance of experiencing a new way of being. So question your constants, question if there is a better way, and notice your too much effort or too much feeling of uncomfortable emotions. So victimhood, for instance, is a an unhealthy feminine energy, that I feel too helpless. I feel like I can't change things or do things. I have stayed in my difficult emotions way too much. And that's the unhealthy feminine. Or I complain all the time. Like, if you call, the first thing I say is like how much difficulty I have and how life is bad and how bad I have it or how bad people have it. When I have a lot of ideas and application and implementation is not a possibility for me. So I'm helpless when it comes to that. Every time you say, Mitra, you've done that, I say like, but I've got so much and it's like this and I'm in that sense helpless. Those are signs of unhealthy feminine, that I feel like I'm not good enough. That's a very common unhealthy feminine that borders with unhealthy masculine, because then it becomes the feeling and thoughts, feed each other.
Mm.
So I think I went too deep into that, but I wanted to just take it to the unhealthy feminine and talk a little bit about that too, because I'm sure you that are listening to us also either experience someone in your life or you yourself are sometimes feeling a little bit of unhealthy feminine as well as unhealthy masculine.
Yeah, I liked some of the points you made about feeling helpless.
Mm,
And it's almost as if you don't have agency. Like you don't
mm,
feel like you can do anything about it. This is just how it is. This happened to me. There's nothing I can do about it. And almost like sulking in those feelings and whatever that is, the guilt, the sadness, the grief. And I've experienced that too. I've gone through periods where I just get really into the emotion and I feel that victimness because I notice myself blaming. I'm blaming other people for why I'm feeling the way I am or why I had the life that I did. My willingness to take agency in my life and to create the life that I want is really diminished. It's very weak in those
mm.
instances.
Yeah. Let me
So,
tell you something interesting before we move forward from this, because this is very fascinating. I see it in myself and in human beings. So, my unhealthy feminine energy may express itself through my unhealthy masculine.
what do you mean by that?
Good question. So, I'm feeling helpless and I'm in my victimhood mode, and I know this is not healthy. and you arrive and I start shouting at you, which is
Mm,
a expression of unhealthy masculine.
mm,
So then I go at you. You're not here. I can't believe it. Don't you care? I have to do everything. And then I go like really at you. So it was the initiation was unhealthy feminine because I thought I cannot do it and I'm not really capable. But in expression of it, I went because that's what we learn. And masculine unhealthy energy, as you said, is far more available to us, especially in the Western world, than unhealthy feminine. So, and I also realize, women realize that unhealthy masculine always takes the stage and people pay attention to it. So I know if I entered a bank and started shouting really loud, I know they will come to assist me and attend to me. I know that for sure. And I have used it at times. I know that's how I can get things done. So I do it that way because if I start crying, everybody says, oh, poor thing, like they want some water, but that don't get things done. But if I start shouting, let's say I'm in a major bank, I can assure you the manager will come out and will take me to their office and ask me how they can help me because they don't want me there shouting in the middle of their institution. So it's a very fascinating thing that how we do that. And then recently, the masculine has learned, unhealthy masculine has learned to express itself in a weak, unhealthy feminine.
yeah.
For
Yeah.
instance, politicians learned, this was a few decades ago, and I remember the first time I witnessed it in the world of politics. Politicians learned when they mess up, if they go out there and cry and ask for help and say, I am so sorry. I made a mistake. And do you see my life is in danger? And I have family. People's emotions will be provoked and they will go to a place of assistance.
Yeah.
And that became a thing. Having said all of that, I know, I can hear the thoughts of our listeners
Mm,
saying, but there's a time that they're really pissed and it is their fault and I should do it. That's true. That it doesn't mean every time I shout or every time I cry, I am in my unhealthy energies because sometimes truly the events require me to go there. So I'm not talking about those natural places of being in that place. And I'm not talking about we shouldn't go there. I'm speaking about one, going there unnecessarily and by default and lack of awareness. And two, by staying there too long. If I feel a victim, then my healthy masculine says, what are you going to do about it? And then I move forward. But if I'm in that state day in, day out, then that becomes unhealthy. I hope that I've addressed the thoughts and objections that
mm.
might be floating in the air as they're listening to us.
Okay, so Mitra, let's just say someone has the tendency to be they're listening and they're like, okay, yeah, I identify with what you're describing as a more unhealthy feminine. What do I do about it? What are practical things I can do to help me reconnect with more of my masculine side and find more balance?
Okay. As I said, first step would be awareness of it. And then second stage, after bringing a sense and idea of balance into your awareness, I always, because I'm so visual, I always have an archetype in mind. Like, when was I or when is this person in their balanced way so that I have a point of reference? And then for unhealthy feminine, usually action is needed. So more action, more structure, more planning, more thinking.
Yeah.
And that's what is missing. That I am like, when people say just wash your face, get out, go out, arrange something, arrange a meeting, start anywhere, those are correct for unhealthy feminine. And when we become more depressed, we are more likely to be in our unhealthy feminine. And when we become anxious, meaning we're overactivated, overthinking, overdoing, overplanning, there's a good chance that we are in our unhealthy masculine. So if you are in unhealthy feminine, take more action, get up, take a shower, just go out, arrange a meeting, start an action or action plan or both. And that's the best way, because movement is needed, and movement is what's lacking. Plan is needed, action is needed, and you get out of your feeling more into your body and getting things done.
Yeah, I like that. And, structuring and planning is really helpful, taking initiative. And one thing that I've done that has been really helpful, and I learned about it from another podcast actually, is organizing the environment. I love this, bringing structure to my environment. So if my room is messy and chaotic, the action of just bringing order into my room and taking time to organize my room, or my closet has been messy for a long time, and taking initiative to structure and to organize my closet does a lot. It helps organize my mind, and it helps me connect with my masculine. Another thing I want to bring up is the power of asking questions and being curious. When I'm in my unhealthy feminine, which I experience less of, what is helpful for me is to ask questions.
Mhm.
So there's a tendency to want to make assumptions, to take what I'm feeling as reality,
Mhm.
and asking questions is really helpful. So if it's
Mhm.
within myself that I'm experiencing turmoil and I don't understand what it is, doing that journal exercise, which we've talked about in previous episodes, which is literally having a conversation with myself and being curious and just asking questions and wanting to get clarity is really helpful. When it shows up in a relationship where I'm in conflict with someone and I notice I'm just really charged emotionally and I'm really in that energy of blaming them, asking them questions. So rather than jumping to conclusions,
Mhm.
just going into inquiry and getting clarity. I find that that has been really helpful for me as well.
Yes, because that's a healthy feminine. Curiosity is a healthy feminine trait, and that's always helpful to do that. But you're right, asking questions are always important. So I don't know if you don't have anything else to add. I would like to really invite you to just ask that question today, or while you're listening to this episode, or after. Just ask yourself, I wonder, just wonder, where is my masculine feminine balance? How does that feel like? That curiosity alone will completely take you from the unhealthy road to the healthy road. Do you arrive right there and then? No, but at least you have switched to the healthy road. When you wonder, wondering is a very healthy uh, feminine trait. I wonder, what is the best way? I wonder if there is a different and better way to be and show up. I wonder what energy, like let's say you entering a meeting or an event. I wonder which energy needs to be more forefront and which one needs to take a back seat. And that wondering, you don't even need the answer. You don't need to determine the answer, because the job of, believe it or not, our thinking mind is to go and find answers. It loves to find answers. But when we don't participate and don't ask questions, it goes and finds the answer to the most fearful questions that it can form for itself. So ask that question. Hire your thinking mind to assist you in your balance and say, I wonder, I'm entering this meeting. I'm an advisor. I'm a guest. I'm just going to a family gathering. I wonder which one needs to be more present. And we have all seen unhealthy ones showing up, seen professionals to start advising everybody at the table, at a dinner table, and at the family, gathering of a, I don't know, celebration of somebody's birthday. And this person is like, as if like they're lecturing to the class. And I'm thinking, This is great information, very inappropriate occasion. I would love to listen to this person, but not at 9 o'clock, Friday night celebrating my cousin's birthday. This is not where I want to hear that information. So really asking, which means this person's energy is very much in their leading and masculine energy, which is really not necessary. We're here to just chill out, as young people call it, and enjoy each other's company and celebrate somebody's life. So asking that question would be very helpful. And from there, then you can find out if you need to go more into your feminine and more be curious, more into your feeling, or you need to be more into your action and your thinking and your planning. Keep it simple. Don't make it too complicated, because this is a subject that people have made a lot of theories about, and it's very, very difficult to get into the basics of it. And the way I understand things, as you know, Ben, and as I'm sure by now everybody that has listened to us knows, I have a mind that doesn't function with complexity. I need clarity and simplicity. And this simple understanding of energy has been extremely helpful for me personally and professionally. So I highly recommend that you keep it simple. Just get curious about it. Know there is an easier and effortless way of doing things, and you will find it. And if you don't, please write to us and see if we can help you. And if you have, please share with us so we can share with other people.
Okay, Mitra, that was a great conversation. We covered so much. Thank you for sharing everything you've shared with us. And yeah, I hope the listeners, that you can go away and take some nuggets from this conversation to help you find balance in your masculine and feminine. Until next time, ciao. Thank you so much for tuning in today. For a list of the links and other resources referenced in this episode, check out the podcast description.
If you're benefiting from our podcast, we'd love if you could help us reach more people by subscribing. Your support means the world to us. From our hearts to yours, we thank you.